last time at Mulberry Branch Farm.
And sadly for these birds,
there's quite a bit of space under there, and there were 5 birds under there this morning. Oh Lord, there it is. It's definitely a fox.
oh boy, what's going on over here?
I just happened to look down. All right, got all 16 or whatever of my chickens in here, barring one who got out. So I'm moving these guys to stop it. Get. I was saying, moving these guys into the kidding side of our goat barn because I can keep them enclosed in there. I can give them food and water, and they're not going to be kept in this eensy weensy all evening long. So that's the plan. This is where they're going to be at till this issue is taken care of. This is just very stressful. Like, on top of everything else, there's always something on a homestead. I like fox, and I like hawk, and I like all of them. And I feel especially bad when it's my fault that we're not getting along, which initially it was my fault, but they just come back and timing me out a little bit too much. You guys can see there's a trap in here. I just want to note that I set up this trap when I thought it was a mink. That's why it's back in the crook of this log, and there's something over top of it to make the mink comfortable to go in after whatever I've got in there is bait. That's why we have to relocate this, is because now we know it's definitely a fox and not a mink. And I disarmed it with a cob, so it is just like a regular 1 spring foot trap. We do have a double where it's got 2 springs to make sure it holds tight, so we might get that one out too. But you guys can see, like, I've got this actually wired to that cinder block. So I'm actually going to just kind of take the cinder block that is attached to this, and I'm going to put it in the coop. So my initial thought is to use this corner, and my bird nesters usually sit up and kind of boxes in this corner. So I figure I might be able to tie up a dead bird or 2 up and use this corner as a funnel to kind of push him where I want him to go. Maybe fox are really smart. I've never trapped a fox. We've trapped mink, we've trapped possum, raccoon, all of that, never fox. So this is a problem I do not want. I wish I didn't have it, but I do. I have it. Okay, it's set. I just gotta leave the door open for this side of the coop. And close this door so I can't really move around a lot. So you guys can see, like, that door is open. So I'm leaving that door open. The trap is actually set right here in this corner, and I've actually used just 2 birds. I try not to touch them at all if I can avoid it. And tied them up into a corner. I'll show you guys when it's light out if we've got anything. Odds are this guy probably won't come back there. The good thing in this coop is that there's a lot of scent, both mine and the chickens, that really nothing should really kind of tip him off in there. And we've just put, like, chicken droppings and feathers lightly over top of the trap so it's not visible. But hopefully in the morning I'll come with good tidings that something great happened. Until then, I need to remove all of these dead chickens. Okay, it's the next morning and we are zilch. So you guys can see here how I kind of set this trap. I've got some birds hanging there, and where that bucket's at, under the bucket is a foot trap. So I've got it tied off to that cinder block, but it kind of, the whole purpose of putting it in this corner was to kind of funnel this guy in there. Lucky for me, the cold weather is going to keep those chickens pretty fresh, pretty, like, semi-frozen. So I'm gonna just keep them hung up in there, and I'll take the rest, bury them, do whatever, I need to compost them. But my bet is this guy comes back in a couple of nights. His refrigerator is stocked. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I've let them back out here. I'm gonna let them in that area with that bucket firmly over top of that trap so they can't hurt themselves, and there's nothing to draw them to that corner to get them to mess around over there. But I want to keep letting them in the coop to keep that scent pretty fresh in there. And I'll probably put them over in the adjoining coop because my coop is set up on 2 sides. The more tempting it is with live birds in there, the better. But then you're also kind of risking. But in this one, I think I gotta risk it for the biscuit, and I will keep the birds in there going forward. I will just make sure that side is very, very secure with hardware cloth so that the fox can't get in to where the actual chickens are at. It's a gamble, but we'll see if it works. I seriously cannot believe how big he is. Playing dead, huh?
Huh?
Playing dead, huh?
Yeah, doing good at his job. Should I get a pet carrier then?
What, to like take him somewhere else?
Yeah, back in the back or something.
Yeah, there's a pet carrier in the barn. Buddy.
Too heavy to just carry though.
I know, he's just so big.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
See, still alive.
Yeah, I can see his little tongue moving, like he wants to hiss at you.
Yeah.
All right, are you gonna take him for a ride to the back?
Yep.
Okay.
Rehome him a little bit.
All right. Bye, buddy. Stay out of the duck pen, okay? Be a good one. I am happy to report that our fox issue has officially been resolved. The other night, I was actually feeding the goats around 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve with my whole family here ready to celebrate the holidays. And noticed the dogs were down here around the chicken coop just making a lot of ruckus. And you kind of can tell when your dogs are barking for fun or because they're not sure something's going on, and when it's that serious something is happening bark. And they were definitely circling the coop with the something is happening bark. And you can tell I've got all this stuff around my coop because actually when I found out that I had a fox issue, I left a lot of the chickens that it had killed underneath my coop because that's what was taking it. Fox like to bury, like we saw earlier in the video, they like to bury their prey that they've already killed so they can come back later. So I left a lot of these underneath the chicken coop because I figure winter, it's gonna get hungry. And you can tell right here that I've actually had a foot trap that I was setting, oh goodness, just about darn near every day. But then I started catching rabbits, and that's horrific because they were just trying to go in underneath the coop because it's getting cold. But I did have all of these entryways on both sides of my coop blocked, so there's only one way to get in. And I actually stopped setting the foot trap because I was tired of catching things that I shouldn't be catching. So yesterday the dogs alarmed and came down here, laid down, took away some of the things, and got a flashlight underneath and saw that the fox had come back. Exactly doing what I had thought it would do, which is to come back and get food because we've had an Arctic vortex sitting over our area for about 2 or 3 days. It's finally 20 degrees. It feels like a heat wave. And came back and did exactly what I thought it would do and come back for food. But I just feel so terrible knowing that I broke my routine one night and it resulted in over 20 chickens being killed on 3 different occasions. So this guy had me timed out pretty much had all of my routines timed out. And then yesterday came in the middle of the not in the middle of the day, but it was still daylight. There was still about an hour and a half of daylight, and it came while I was outside feeding my goats. It came right through here because the track said that's where it came from, and it came underneath this gate down here. There's slide marks. I don't know if you can see because we were getting another episode of snow, but right here, this indentation right here is where it came from underneath, and there are actually tracks that show it going down and out and around. And it actually came from over here. But it was kind of neat to look at the tracks because foxes are known for doubling back, and in that specific track path, it doubled back twice on itself. So, I mean, they're smart, but he tripped up and sadly he was coming back for food. Had this been shut up and the doors to the chicken coop had been open, he would definitely have gotten more food. He would have definitely have taken chickens, and with how much eggs are and how much the rising cost of meat is, I cannot allow an animal to come take my livestock. And albeit the demise of the animal is my fault because it caught me one time with not following my routine to the T and came back. So I piqued its interest, and he picked my routine apart. He knew exactly when I was out here because it was a male fox. Knew exactly when I was out here when I was doing things, and just thought he was sly enough while I was feeding my goats. He could just do it in broad daylight, but he didn't count on the 2 dogs being out with me. And he paid for it. I feel bad about that, but I have to protect my livestock from predators, even if it's my own fault that they came. Just because I've taken care of this problem doesn't mean there won't be another problem, but for right now, it's nice to know that I have one less fox in the area to worry about, but it also means his territory is now open for another fox to move in, and that one might be even wilier. So that's why it's up to us as homesteaders and stewards of our livestock to make sure that we're doing our best to make sure that we can safely raise livestock in areas where we have predator pressure, because there's literally almost nowhere in the world where you're not going to have a chicken at the very bottom of the food chain that's dumb enough, it's easy enough to eat by any local predator. Okay, June, help yourself in here. That we can't keep them safe all the time. There's always going to be something. Even rats can predate on chickens and small ducks. So we just got to try to do our best to make sure we're giving them the safest space to live in. But I know not everybody's going to agree with how I took care of this, but this guy was not. I need to free range my chickens. I need to cut down on the feed costs. I need to be able to feed my family. The fox is taking food out of my mouth. And when predators go into other predators' territory and they start to take out their food sources, those predators seek out the lesser predators and they take care of them. They get rid of them. They either run them out of their territory or they kill them. That is just how nature works. I'm just sad that I had to take part in nature in that way because I dropped the ball one time, and he decided he was just going to time me out and come in the middle of the day or come right before I was supposed to be out. So it is what it is. It's not a fun side of homesteading, but it's definitely a necessary one.